Hey everybody, so today I wanted to do my full review of the HTC 10. I just want to preface this review by saying that I bought it at launch when it first launched several months back, but I didn't use it much. And my first impressions at the time was that it was nice, it was really nice design, but it's boring, and so I ended up selling it off. And I heard a lot of good updates have improved the device, as well as Android 7.0 coming to it, combined with the Black Friday sale, pushing it down to $200 off. I thought why not give it a shot again, give it a fair chance, and I got the unlocked version. This is in the gold, topaz gold color, and really, I mean, spoiler, I mean, the gist of it is I like the device, but it's far from perfect. And so kind of listen in through as I go through some of the different categories and aspects of the device and see which of them really matter to you and kind of decide for themselves. But I'll try to step through it and give you some facts about each of the different areas of the device from what I've seen, as well as my opinion. And then we'll conclude with some final thoughts, and hopefully that helps you decide if this is still a viable device for you to pick up late in the year. So real quick, like we all know, HTC, the device has a really nice traditional HTC all aluminum body design. It's very solid, very sturdy. No creaking here. Very solid, very device here. I'm not going to do a bend test, but it's just one hunk of metal, and it feels very, very solid. The deeply beveled power button here that you can see, that texture really does make a difference when you're trying to feel for some buttons. So nice differentiator between the volume buttons there. They're a tad bit shaky, if you can hear that, but nothing really significant. Not cheap at all. Not as bad as some really cheap ones. Just a tad bit, but otherwise they're very tactile, very solid. No complaints, really. Just a minor gripe there. The large beveled edges on the back, which they're known for, so these huge chamfers as they're calling it, combined with this really rounded back here that you can kind of see. So the chamfered edges kind of really slim down the back of the device, and the rounded back really makes for a very solid and a very nice in-hand feel. It sort of just settles into the palm of your hand. Other things on the back, if you take a look, antenna lines on top and the bottom, that bothers some people. Antenna lines never really bothered me very much, but just something to note if that's something that you don't like. HTC signature, their boom sound. So you have the front firing speaker here for the higher frequencies, as well as their bottom firing speaker for the lower frequencies. We'll get into the details of how this sounds later, but that's kind of how they set up boom sound this time around instead of dual front firing speakers. This model does have the headphone jack at the top. I prefer it at the bottom, but just note at least it's there. And we'll get into the sound of what that internal audio sounds like a little bit later. Fingerprint sensor on the bottom. Nitpicks on the fingerprint sensor is that it's just not centered into the bottom if you take a look, right? So it's more towards the bottom versus centered. Just a very minor nitpick. Another minor gripe here is that if you notice the ring around the sensor is silver, and it's not color matched to this topaz gold color on the rear. So would have been a nice touch to kind of color match that to the color of the back. But the fingerprint scanner itself is not the fastest, but it's pretty accurate. So you can see there. See, so it's not really the fastest, a little bit delay there. Again, a little bit of a delay. So it's not the fastest, but it's very accurate. And yeah, I mean, other than that, it works pretty great. Overall build is very nice. No real major complaints there. Next, looking at the display. So let's kind of shine this up a little bit. So HTC 10 comes with that 5.2 inch 1440p display, 1440 by 2560. 2K display. It uses Super LCD 5 with Gorilla Glass 3. What does all that really mean? It just means it's really, well, it's interesting because I think it's the best LCD display in terms of color and vibrancy and looks. I mean, it just looks very nice to look at, this display. For an LCD display, the colors really just pop. Where it kind of it's not really the best is in brightness. It's pretty good, but so if you notice, it's about 75%, which is where I normally keep it. 50% is okay, and it's better for the camera maybe, but if you look at it in person, it's not bad. But I normally have to keep it at about 75%. Outdoors, I'll bump it up to 100%. To kind of illustrate what I'm talking about here, let's try to bring in another device here and see if we can get that centered up for you. So arguably the best display on the market here today are Samsung panels. And so here is the Galaxy S7 Edge, which probably boasts, I'll try to get the angles right here for you, probably arguably the best display, Super AMOLED display on the Galaxy S7 and S7 Edge. So like most people know, AMOLED displays very bright and very punchy colors. So if we kind of take a look here, auto brightness is off. I've got this at about, let's say, just under about 50%. Sorry, it's a bit tough doing behind the camera. And we'll put this one up to, this is about 75%. So at that level, to the naked eye in front of me, this is about close to even. So at 50%, at HTC at 75%, it's about as bright as the AMOLED panel at 50% to me. So brightness doesn't compete well with AMOLED displays. But if you notice, the coloring is very nice and it's pretty close. And there we go, notifications from Tech Talk. Shout out to Tech Talk. But if you notice the coloring, look at the reds. Reds and blues you can really notice on these panels. So within the reds, very punchy for an LCD display. We'll also take a look at blues on the Twitter icon. Is another good example. It doesn't show through on the camera as much, but the blues is also very punchy. A little bit punchier, obviously, and deeper and richer on the AMOLED display. But for an LCD display, this LCD 5 display from HTC is very nice. So in all fairness, let's bring in another display that has an actual LCD display. And so LCD displays tend to be cooler and more quote-unquote color accurate, not as punchy. So this is the ZTE Z Max Pro. And if you notice, I've got the same similar icon setup and backgrounds on all these, so I try to make it as fair as possible here. So the Z Max Pro has a 6-inch LCD display, and it's very bright. So if you take a look here, we'll pump this up to 100%, and that gets super bright. So this is another one, even at, maybe 50%, closer to 50%, if we can get that from behind the camera. That's about the same brightness at the HTC at 75%. So brightness, much better on an LCD panel like on the Z Max Pro. But if you take a look at the coloring, and this is what I mean. So the Z Max Pro, to me, tends to have a bit cooler coloring. Still very nice, but a little bit cooler. And if you look again at the reds are deeper and more lively on the HTC to me. If you look at this in person, on camera, it may not always come through. But in the Z Max Pro, it's a deeper coloring red, which is fine. And you may like those kind of colors, more natural maybe. But the punchier colors, to me, are on the HTC 10. Same on here. Again, we'll take a look at the blues and the Twitter and even the Telegram icons. So it's a little bit duller here on the Z Max Pro, while it's a lot more vibrant and punchy on the HTC 10. So it really comes down to what you like. Do you like more natural, cooler coloring, or do you like a more punchy and vibrant coloring closer to an AMOLED panel? You're going to like the HTC 10. So I just thought I'd show that real quick as far as color accuracy, vibrancy, and brightness of that display. So like I said, very nice. No real complaints. It's probably one of the best LCD displays I've seen as far as color and vibrancy on a device, just not anywhere near the brightest. The other thing that this has is double tap to wake and sleep. So from sleep, I can double tap to wake. I can double tap it to put it back to sleep. That's a feature that I really like on devices. It comes in more handy if your fingerprint sensor's on the back, but say it's laying on a table or even here, I don't want to reach over and try to pinch that and get the power button. It's easier just to double tap it to wake it. I mean, if you're on the table as well, sometimes you have to reach over and try to hit that power button and find it. You have a lot bigger touch target here. If it's laying flat, you just double tap it to wake it up, to check notifications or whatever else. So that's another great feature of the HTC 10. So that's display. As far as performance and software, here's where the HTC really shines. I don't recall it being this fast and fluid. Maybe it's nougat, I'm not really sure, but it is very fast, very snappy, very fluid performance, and just doing things like moving around the UI. So I've got Nova Launcher here, not the stock Sense UI, sorry. But same, very fast, very fluid. If you look, and one flick, and it's all the way to the bottom of my app list. If you look at the same thing here, recent apps button, you can flick through, very smooth, no problems there. Let me try to turn down the screen brightness here for the camera. Things like, if you want to go into applications like Twitter. Turn it down a little bit more, sorry. There we go. So apps like Twitter, you want to flick through it. Very fast, very smooth. I mean, I'm not really seeing any lag or even a hint of a stutter at all. Very fast, very fluid. Other things like if I want to go into YouTube, so YouTube, if I go through my subscriptions, can be laggy at times because it's trying to load up all these thumbnails here. But very fast, very fluid. That loading you saw was a network just trying to load in more content, but once it does, it's very fast, very fluid. Same like Google Plus. Google Plus and its cards can lag at times, and so let's try to take a look here. So just flicking through something like Google Plus, and you can kind of look at it loading up the cards here in the background as well. So this is very fast, very fluid as well. And the other thing around, just basic usage, no complaints. I've got my app launching video compared to the Pixel XL. I'll put a card up and link in the description. You can kind of see that it compares very favorably. In launching all the apps, it was maybe a half second behind. So a lot of these high-end phones, it's up to you to determine. They're very close. They're usually within milliseconds or split seconds of each other. It's up to you if that split second matters that much to you. But otherwise, very fast, very fluid performance. Take a look at that video if you want to kind of see app launching performance compared to a Pixel XL. Very close to stock Android. If you look at the settings and notifications panel, settings menu, very close to stock. So if you like stock Android, you'll probably like this device. Moving on to things like battery life. So battery life, this has a 3,000 milliamp hour battery, and that's one of the weaker points of this device to me. If you want the ultimate in battery life, these are your battery champs right here. So this is the Moto Z Play on the left. This has a 3510 milliamp hour battery. That lasts me 2.5 days on the battery alone. Add the battery mod pack, and you've got 3 solid days of battery life on this thing. This one here is a Echo Lite Pro 3. This has a 4070 milliamp hour battery, and this thing lasts me almost 2 days. So larger battery on here than the Moto Z Play, but the Z Play is really the king of the battery right now. This is not too far behind it. But as far as the HTC 10 is concerned, it's 3,000 milliamp hour battery. So I'll preface this by saying good for me is, if I can get through a day, a usual work day, and make it home. And for me, that's usually 3 to 4 hours of screen on time will do that for me. And in some of those instances, I'll still need to charge before I go to bed, but it's good enough. For me, amazing would be that 6+ hours of screen on time and 2+ days of battery life out of those previous phones that I just showed you. Now the HTC 10, what does the HTC 10 kind of get me? Let me pull out some screenshots for you here real quick. So the HTC 10 gets me anywhere between 3 and 4 hours a day. So if we'll take a look, right, I did some screenshots on my usage and screen on time throughout the week. So here, the first day, I got just over 4 hours of screen on time. The next day, almost 4 hours of screen on time, and you can see what I was using a lot. Telegram, again, shout out to the Telegram Tech Talk group. Always going 24/7, so that's eating up a significant amount of battery that day. If I come back down here, next day again, let's see, 3.5 hours on that. Following day, that's about almost 4 hours. You can kind of see what I was doing there. A lot of camera work. And again, the next day, almost 4 hours. Here's what I was using again. This is fairly typical usage. And then most recently, I got about 3 hours and 41 minutes using the camera heavy. That was when I was doing my camera sample test. So we'll get into the camera, but if you want to see a lot of more detail on that camera, look at my video. I'll put a link up in the card as well. I did a detailed camera sample, so you can check that out. So battery life, again, good enough, but nowhere near great. So if you really want a great battery, you might want to look into the Moto Z Play or that Echo Lite Pro 3. But it's good enough. It gets you through the day, or at least gets me through the day. In some instances, I do need to charge before I go to bed a little bit just to make it through all the way up to bedtime. But it's good enough. Camera. So moving on to camera. So This is another area I think where it falls a little bit flat. It was a little bit disappointing to me. I was really hoping HTC would get the camera on par with some of the bigger flagships that came out this year. It has a front-facing 5-megapixel camera. Front-facing 5-megapixel camera with an f1.8 aperture. It does have autofocus, and it shoots in up to 1080p video. I've got some, again, in my camera samples video, some samples of the front-facing camera there. Low light is not that great given the OIS, so that was a little bit disappointing as well. The rear camera has a 12-megapixel, same aperture, f/1.8. This does also have optical image stabilization, laser autofocus with that dual-tone LED flash. This will shoot up to 4K video. I have not found a way to set it to 1080p at 60 frames. There is an option in the camera settings, let's see if we can kind of pull that up, to set it at full HD 1080p, but I've not really found a way. So if I move into the camera app here, right there you can see quality. You can kind of flick through the different quality options, full HD. If you can get that back. There you go. It even has a QVGA quality. I'm not sure why you would ever want to use that. And there's your 4K. So, but you know, that 1080p option is just 1080p. I'm pretty sure it's 30 frames per second. I've not seen, it is 30 frames per second. I've never found a way to actually, in the settings menu, to get to 60 frames per second. So if you find a way to do that, let me know in the comments. As far as camera performance, again, take a look at the camera video. It'll give you a very good idea of both video as well as still shots in various lighting conditions of both the front and rear camera. But it's just a quick summation of all that. It really doesn't do well in direct sunlight. Shots come out way too warm, and video gets a little bit washed out as well. Overall shutter speed is a little bit slow as well. So let me see if I can pull that up for you here. So we go into the camera app real quick. Hit camera here. So shutter speed, quick snap, and there. It took a little bit of a pause, right, to actually process that photo there. So if I hit snap again, it comes up faster a little bit the second time, but let's try to refocus it maybe in a different shot. There you go. See, a little bit, it's not quite as fast as a lot of the top-end flagships. So to me, shutter speed is a little bit slow when the camera starts to warm up. So it's not the fastest, but it's not bad. That would be a minor gripe about the camera there. The other thing is I took some macro shots. You can see that in the camera samples video. But macro shots take a lot of patience on this thing. It really wants to focus more on the background, and I tried at variable distances, and it really took me a while to get that macro shot in focus on the subject that I was looking at. So macros take a lot of patience, a lot more than some of your other cameras on some better phones out there. So that's just something to note as well. So audio. Moving on to audio. So external audio, like we were saying before, boom sound speakers again, bottom firing speaker for your low end, front firing speaker near the earpiece for your higher frequencies. And this sounds fine. Better than most phones. Not fantastic, not great. So, I mean, we can do a quick audio sample here. So we'll bring up something here. We'll bring up YouTube music. Sorry guys, more live video struggles. But I'm really trying to get this done in one take. And give you my real and authentic views here. You know, no fancy editing or anything. So bear with me. And then we'll also bring in pretty much what is considered probably the king of audio at this point, the ZTE Axon 7. So we'll try to get these in shot here, and we'll go through and try to play some samples for you. So this is HTC 10, full volume. We'll play each for a little while back to back, let you hear them. And then we'll go on with the Axon 7. Oh, I mean, it's already louder, and there's a lot more richer sound, but I'll let you listen for yourself. Oh yeah, not even close. I'm hoping this really comes through on camera. Yeah, much richer, much louder on the ZTE. We'll even try a couple other tracks here. Yeah, and I've tried various different styles of music, and the results are always the same. ZTE Axon 7, $400 retail, fantastic device, king of audio as far as external audio on its built-in speakers. But again, HTC 10, still with the boom sound speakers, still good. Not as great as dual front firing, I'll be honest, but it is still better than a lot of other phones out there. Okay, so moving on to audio, as far as internal audio is concerned, HTC is well known for their built-in audio or their digital to analog converter or their DAC. I'm no expert, I'm just kind of showing what I know here, but it converts your digital audio into an audio analog signal for your headphones. So the better quality of the internal DAC, and if you've got an amp as well, plus the quality of your headphones, really will impact the sound quality that you're going to hear out of this device. So with HTC 10, they are known for their internal DACs and really good quality sound coming through your headphones. And so if you get an HTC 10, bottom line, get an HTC 10 with a good pair of headphones, this thing will blow everything away. I mean, even the V20. So the V20 came out earlier this year. It boasted a quad DAC, whatever that really means. And I bought the V20. I thought it sounded phenomenal. It sounded really great. Coming into this, I didn't think the HTC would be able to put a dent into the V20, but I was surprised. Really didn't think anything would touch the V20 in audio, but the HTC 10 really surprised me and wowed me. So I'm really not advocating for HTC here. I even came in biased towards the V20. I really thought the V20 would do it. Nothing would beat it, but the HTC 10 with a good set of headphones just flat out beat it. Just being honest here. So I don't have any fancy audio measuring equipment, but if you get yourself a nice pair of headphones, plug it into this device here, you'll be blown away. So as far as audio is concerned, external audio speakers still goes to the Axon 7. This isn't too bad for what it has, given that it does not have dual front firing speakers. But the internal audio, I don't think, I've got a ton of devices, and nothing beats this as far as listening to headphones on a phone this year. HTC 10 wins hands down. Other things like calling and messaging, obviously, since this is a phone, calls sound nice and clear both ways. No issues with texting, SMS, MMS. This does have Wi-Fi calling, so let me see if I can show you that here. So this does have Wi-Fi calling, as you can see there. And I've got T-Mobile, and Wi-Fi calling works flawlessly. You can see the Wi-Fi calling icon up there at the top. So Wi-Fi calling on T-Mobile, not a problem. Other things to note around calling, inserting your SIM card into this device, into the SIM card slot. Once you have it on, it does require a restart, so it doesn't hot swap, so to speak, your SIMs. You put a new SIM in here, you'll have to reboot it. But the nice thing is, once you reboot it, it'll prompt you with the SIM setup. So it'll prompt you to select your carrier. It'll set everything up for you, APN settings, everything. So you don't have to worry if your signals are going to be coming in correctly. It'll set it up for you. So that's really nice. The other thing, the one kind of slight negative is, if you're a tinkerer and you want to verify what settings it's using, I've been unable to find those APN settings. So if anybody out there knows how to get to the APN settings within the settings menu, let me know in the comments below. But other than that, very solid. And those are just a couple things I want to point out there. Overall, final thoughts. As I said at the beginning, it's good, but it's not perfect. I've really enjoyed personally using it due to the fact that it's fast and fluid in performance. Great, solid, quality build. I think it looks very nice. I like aluminum unibody designs. But honestly, if I'm being honest, if I could only use one Android phone, this wouldn't be it. It would probably be the Pixel XL. Just because due to the poor camera performance and subpar battery life that I'm getting out of this thing. But if you're an HTC fan and you're worried about them putting out a not as good device based on some of the recent track record, this is a phenomenal device. You'll love it. If you want a smaller 5.2-inch device with a nice display, don't let the LCD steer you away, because it's a very good quality, nice to look at display, and it's got a lot of fast performance. If you like all those things, this is also a good device for you. If you want great camera with good battery life, then this isn't a device, and you should be looking elsewhere. So that's a real quick recap, quick rundown. Well, not quick. This is probably getting close to 30 minutes here, but my thoughts and my review on the HTC 10. If you have any additional questions, let me know in the comments. But otherwise, as always, thanks for watching.